the 29th of April, googlemo.com. Lockdown bread. We're in April 29, yes, so today's the second day of alert level 3. So that's 14 tablespoons of flour all up to make that bread. To start with, we used this bowl here, and like it is now, it had the remnants of the last loaf in there. So there's a little bit of yeast going on, production going on in there. So we scraped the sides, cleaned the bowl up, left the remnants in there, added 2 heaped tablespoons of flour and warm liquid, and warmed and just mixed it into a not too tight affair, a little bit of a sloppy mixture. And then we left it for 24 hours, and then we added 4 heaped tablespoons of flour and some more warm water, warm liquid, and formed a dough. And we didn't mix it a great deal, just enough for it to bind and start to clear the bowl. And then we covered it and we left it for another 24 hours. And then we added 8 tablespoons of flour, some salt, probably a teaspoon of salt, and it's all guesswork. And it seems to be the answer, guesswork, for me anyhow. I don't have scales here and I can't measure things exactly, but that's the beauty of it. To be able to just go and do it and not have to worry about scales and all those little fiddly, pedantic little things that you need in the kitchen. So the end result is 14 tablespoons of flour, 3 days, 3 separate 24-hour periods of mixing and adding, doubling up the flour. So once again, we started with 2 tablespoons of flour and made a mixture. Then 24 hours later, we put 4 tablespoons of flour in there, added some more water, formed a dough. It cleaned the bowl up. Then we covered it. Then we left it for 24 hours. Then once again, we added 8 tablespoons of flour, some more liquid, some salt, and we mixed it well. And this is the last mix has got to be a good mix. That's how you get the lift. For a sourdough, that's not too bad. That's not too bad a lift. Now, it's not a perfect loaf of bread by any means, and it wouldn't win a baking competition, but at the end of the day, it is edible, and it was made at home. And it's made out of natural ingredients, and that fermentation process releases the minerals and the trace elements in the flour, and it just goes through you. It doesn't bind you up or make you feel bloated or anything like that, and it gives you a really good feeling of well-being. That is a superb loaf of bread to be able to send your kids off to school with. You know, if you're a field worker, just to cut it in half and fill it up with whatever you want, and you've got food to go with all day. It's just you want to go out on a picnic, take the loaf of bread with you and enjoy yourselves cutting it up and adding your condiments with it, whatever you want. But at the end of the day, that is a loaf of bread that was made at home. It probably cost about 75 cents to make. 14 tablespoons of flour and a teaspoon of salt and water and a wee bit of gas. In this case, we've got a gas oven, and it's an all experiment. We're just experimenting, and this is all lockdown pressure. Trying to pass the time. And it's been a while since I've been in a kitchen in a bakery or in a kitchen, but I did grow up in one, so I've got that advantage. But I feel that it's a good skill to have, a really good skill to have. And if you don't have to measure anything, this can be done camping. This can be done. It's just a really adaptable feature, being able to just tablespoons, that'll do, she'll be right, get your mixture right, all by feel, and there's your tucker. Then you've got everything to gain by it, nothing to lose whatsoever. And it's basically foolproof as well. But to start with, the very first loaf of bread that I made, I used a wee bit of beer. because we had no yeast, and this is how this all came about. We had no yeast at the supermarket, all the stocks were down. I thought, how am I going to make a loaf of bread? I couldn't actually afford to buy a loaf of bread on the day as such, so I thought I'd go home and make one. googlemo.com here, if you could push the like button and subscribe, it would be great, and pass the news on to people that, you know, you can do this at home and you don't need scales or any fancy skills or anything like that. So there is a previous video uploaded here where I moulded it and I set it aside overnight. Once it had risen, it rose to the top of the bowl, and once it had its good mix, and that was the completed dough. Then it sat all day, and we had a warm day today, and it sat for most of the day, and it just slowly rose, and then I just baked it on the stone, and there's the end result.